Hi, I'm Dr. Denise O'Neill Green, and I'm the executive editor of the Institutional Diversity blog. And today I wanted to share with you the third installment in focusing on the invisibility of EDI during the COVID-19 crisis pandemic. So there's an article I wanted to turn your attention to. The article is written by Alissa Carpenter of the Entrepreneur magazine, and the title is The Importance of Diversity and Inclusion During Uncertain Times. I had provided the link to this in my first blog post on the invisibility of EDI, and today I thought it would be good just to highlight a few aspects of that article that I thought was important to share with the EDI community. So, of the topics, there was one that really caught my attention, and that was to be conscious of representative leadership. And that essentially means when you're in an organization and you have those kind of meetings that are looking towards the future, that is looking to develop strategy, opportunities, ways of moving forward past this pandemic, when we get to that point, that it's important to bring together people who represent different levels of the organization, who represent various different functions of the organization, so it's cross-functional. And that it's also important to bring people who are out of the box thinkers. I would dare say those who tend to be disruptors, because they can help break you out of that group think type of approach. But even more importantly, representing or understanding that you bring forward a variety in terms of demographics, making sure there's at least a balance in terms of gender, that you bring forward those who are from various equity seeking groups or from underrepresented groups. And I find that oftentimes when these conversations are had, uh, members from various marginalized groups tend not to be invited to the table. So you want to make sure when you're bringing forward leadership that you are conscious of representation. Secondly, remembering your employee resource groups. At Ryerson, we call them community networks. It's an important time for you to check in to your employee resource groups or community networks. They can provide information that you may be unaware of in terms of what's happening among your employees, among various different communities, and it's also a way of not only checking in but offering support. Oftentimes, leaders of these groups are convening these groups off the side of their desk, and during the time of COVID, um, I would assume that those kinds of activities have been put to the side or to the back burner. So it's important to recognize that that type of leadership is very important and absolutely needed during these very uncertain times. And then lastly, the topic of limiting your assumptions. I think many times people make the assumptions that others, are going through this experience in the same way that you are. But what we're finding over and over again is that this pandemic is uncovering the various vulnerabilities in the system and how there's so many populations that are vulnerable during times like these. And when we make assumptions about our faculty, our our staff, our students, um, we don't understand that things are really not the same for everyone. So limiting those assumptions to assume that it's impacting this pandemic is impacting everyone equally but it's actually impacting people in unequal ways. And being cognizant of that can also help one in bringing diversity and inclusion to the table. So, the three areas be conscious of representative leadership, remember to touch base with your community networks, and then finally, to limit your assumptions in how you think the pandemic is impacting everyone. Thank you. I appreciate hearing what you have to say about this and what your organization is doing during these uncertain times. Thanks again. Bye now.